Hello everyone. Today we just finished the second session of the Lotus Sutra study where we read and discussed chapter 2 of the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, titled Expounding the Dharma. What's interesting about the chapter is that this chapter 2, Expounding the Dharma, is immediately after the Buddha was praised by his disciple, the Bodhisattva Great Adornment. And the chapter 2 starts by saying this. At that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Great Adornment and the 80,000 Bodhisattva Mahasattva he was leading, having finished their verses praising the Buddha, addressed the Buddha in unison, saying, Were thou not the one addressing the Buddha? We in this assembly of 80,000 Bodhisattvas now want to ask a question regarding the Tathagata's Dharma. The Tathagata is almost the same with the Buddha, but when the nature of the Buddha, which transcends time and space, is implied, it tends to become Tathagata rather than saying the Buddha. But basically, they are the interchangeable words. Dharma, Tathagata's Dharma. The Dharma is the teaching or the truth of the Buddha. So regarding Tathagata's Dharma means regarding the Buddha's teaching. We wonder if the world honored one would be so kind as to hear us. The disciple is saying, well, Shakyamuni Buddha, do you accept our questions? And the Buddha said, yeah, give me all the questions. My good children, you will know that now is the time to do so. You may ask whatever you wish. Before long, Tathagata, the Buddha, referring to himself, will enter parinirvana. Will be dying. I'm already 80 years old. That's what he's saying. After my passing, none of you should have any remaining doubts. So ask any question you wish, and I will answer it. So this kind of tells the tone of Buddhism expressed in this text, Lotus Sutra, saying that Buddhism welcomes anyone's questions, and Buddhism encourages and supports your spiritual free search of truth rather than telling you what to do, right? So we prepare condition for you to explore, be facilitated and to facilitate as a leader, and find the truth of your own based on the inspirations here and there embedded in the text of the Lotus Sutra. This really open-mindedness is something I love about in terms of the Buddha's pedagogical approach. And the rest of the sutra, the chapter, 9, 10 pages, not that long pages, is composed of two questions from the Bodhisattva Great Adornment and the Buddha's answer. What is very interesting is that the first question is, okay, one question is that, how can I be a Buddha quickly? And then Buddha answers. Second question, follow-up question. Okay, now I know how can I can be a Buddha quickly. Second question is the Bodhisattva Great Adornment asks, how can I understand the reason why the different teachings were expounded by you, Shakyamuni Buddha, according to different audience and different time? And then the Buddha answers. After the answers was given, kind of this uh, colorful image of the scenery, like the Dharma flower raining down, the land of this land and that universe shaking six ways to that kind of description will is how the chapter ends. But what is central is the answers Buddha gives to the first question of how can I be a Buddha quickly? Buddha answers, if you have a copy of the text, page 13 and 14. Very philosophical answer. Things like, if you want to enlighten quickly, you should observe that at every point in time, all things themselves are tranquil and empty in nature and attributes. They are neither great nor small, without origination nor cessation, neither fixed nor moving, and neither advancing nor retreating. They are non-dual, just like empty space. Because the Buddha see in this way and the Bodhisattvas are seen this way, the nature of all things, because of that, these Bodhisattvas are moved to heartfelt sympathy, giving rise to great compassion, and want to relieve the suffering of living beings. So this truth dimension of the emptiness of all things leads to the rising of compassion. That's what the Bodhisattva does, and that's the practice that you can quickly become a Buddha. If you help yourself and others out of compassion, that will make you Buddha quickly. That's what it says. And also on the page 14, still the answer continues. The innumerable meanings arise from the one Dharma. And this one Dharma is, namely, the state of having no attributes. This is very philosophically difficult passage, but what is wonderful is that the founder of Rishikosaka Buddhist group, Nikkyo Niwanon, has an excellent commentary, Buddhism for Today, which commentary on this Buddhist Lotus Sutra text. Page 46 of that has a very wonderful explanation, his own interpretation about it, where he says, here's what the Buddha is saying. Innumerable meanings arise from the one Dharma. What is this one Dharma? Right. And founder Nikkyo Niwano says, it is a universal truth. Okay. And what is that truth? It is a state of having no attributes. What does that mean? This means that the basic nature of all things transcends the mutual differences between them. All things are in a state of equality because this is the heart of his interpretation, I think. They all possess Buddha nature. Buddha nature is the ultimate reality, the true form of all things. The merits of the compassion that naturally arises when one awakens to this truth of the universally shared one Buddha nature and clear, never futile, because this teaching is truly able to remove suffering and bring happiness to living beings wherever they may be. If Bodhisattvas learn this approach to the Dharma called innumerable meanings, they will without fail be able to quickly accomplish supreme perfect awakening. Nikkyo Niwano is saying that seeing the one Dharma from which everything arises is that the universal shared emptiness is the other way of talking about the universal shared Buddha nature in all lives and in all encounters, including difficult encounters. Like when I was almost, having a mental breakdown because of my relationship with the former colleague like 10 years ago, that was so hard. I really, I was like shaking because of the anxiety attack every day. Seeing the Buddha nature in that difficult moment, it's difficult. I couldn't do it. But if that is practiced successfully, you will arise from compassion and quickly become a Buddha. What does that entail? What does that concretely mean in our everyday life, in our relationship with the colleagues, neighbors, family members, when it comes, especially when it's difficult, right? When I'm about to have an argument with my, family members back in Japan or with my kids or something, what does it mean to see the Buddha nature of those difficult moments? That's the training Richard Kosekai does. He, simple answer to me is to see the Buddha nature is that to recognize the suffering of myself and the other, and also to see their willingness and my willingness to overcome that suffering. That's to me the equivalence of seeing the Buddha nature in everyone. So seeing the Buddha nature comes from seeing the suffering and struggle of the other and yourself. So that means you got to be open to yourself, your own inner voice, the true voice, and also need to facilitate the space of listening for the sake of your own self and the others, including those difficult moments. Oh, did that make you feel that moment? Did I make you hurt? You talked about A, B, and C. What is the most bothering thing? Is that A? Oh, That's actually B. What exactly, when you feel B, how do you process that? It sounds very difficult, but you've been doing great. Tell me more. So holding space of listening like that is the practical practice according to this passage to me. What do you think about this? Tell me more about in the comments your practice of seeing the Buddha nature and everyone around you. Second question, and also the page 16, the one Dharma is like one nature of water expressed in different ways for the ocean, rivers, and canals, and so on. But universally shared nature of the water is that it washes away all the dirt, but different expressions are necessary. So oneness and the difference of the same nature is discussed in page 16. That's another excellent passage. Second question, the disciple, the Bodhisattva Greater Roman asks is that, okay, Buddha Shakyamuni, please explain why you taught different teachings according to different time and according to different audience. The Buddha answers, I don't want to ruin your reading experience. So if you want to know the answer to that question, please read the Lotus Sutra 3-4 Lotus Sutra, which is available online, Amazon, for instance. No copy available at the moment in our Buddhist Center of LA, Rishigosakai at this moment. But please definitely read top of the page 16 until the middle of 19. These 3.5 pages is the answer that Shakyamuni Buddha gives to the second question. Let me talk a little bit about it. So for instance, like page 16, Buddha says, well, because what everybody wants for their spiritual liberation and what they can absorb is different. I respect the difference and the level of each person's understanding and desire. So different teachings are my ways of skillfully approaching and responding to these diversity of needs. So that's what the Buddha says. So that's the Buddha's pedagogical approach of skillful means. Skillful means is a very important word that keeps appearing in the sutra and others in the Buddhism. And here's another interesting thing. Page 17, the Buddha says, well, I taught different things, but the nature of what the teaching does, just as the nature of water does is the cleansing of the dirt, what all my teachings do is universally shared, which is this, to see inherently that all things are tranquil and empty, constantly regenerating and never abiding and produced and extinguished in every moment. That's the nature of the Buddha's universally shared nature of all the Buddha's teachings. That's what this sutra's chapter says. Isn't it interesting? All things are tranquil and empty, and then you imagine something of serenity, peace, quietness, quietude. But what it means, the Buddha reveals that means constantly regenerating and never abiding, and produced and extinguished in every moment. So the meaning of emptiness is not quietude. Meaning of emptiness is kind of loud and kind of vibrant, kind of like constantly regenerating and never abiding. Right? It's like a omni change everywhere, not like cessation. So that's the Lotus Sutra version of the active meaning of emptiness. This is very interesting. So things like that, please, by all means, if you missed the rest of this chapter and then the next session on December 14th from 1 to 2:30, 90-minute session, we will start from page 21, chapter 3, 10 merits. If you have any questions or thoughts, please let me know, and I love to hear your comments, thoughts in the comments. And let's bring your friends. Buddhism in America is rising so rapidly. So I look forward to seeing you next time and see you in a month or in the Sunday service or meditation sessions. I'll be traveling to Japan as an interpreter for the conferences for the ministers tomorrow on November 10th, but we'll be back in the end of November. I gotta miss Thanksgiving in the US. I'll be in Japan at the time. So, but I wish you have a wonderful holiday season. Hopefully, probably I will see you all on December.